Scene script. Have you ever thought about the impact of labels on individuals? Not the ones on your clothes or food, but the ones we assign to people. Let's take a moment to ponder on the concept of labeling. It's something we all do, often without realizing it. We put people into boxes based on a single characteristic or trait. The smart one, the shy one, the lazy one, the troublemaker. These labels, though they might seem harmless, have a far-reaching impact. At its core, labeling is a cognitive shortcut. Our brains, always on the lookout for efficiency, use labels to make sense of our complex world. It's a way of simplifying the vast array of human behaviors, attitudes, and appearances into manageable chunks. A way to quickly know someone without truly knowing them. But here's the catch: while labels might make life easier for our brains, they can also distort reality. By reducing a person to a single trait, we overlook the richness and complexity of their personality. We ignore the fact that people can be smart and lazy, shy but also outgoing in certain situations, a troublemaker with a heart of gold. We deny the multifaceted nature of human beings. Moreover, labels can become a form of control. By labeling someone, we impose a frame of reference on them. We set limits on who they can be, how they can behave, and how they can grow. It's like forcing a bird to stay on the ground because we've labeled it as a non-flyer, despite its potential to soar high. Labels also come with a heavy dose of subjectivity. They are often based on our personal perceptions and biases, yet we present them as objective facts. This deception can lead to manipulation, with the labeler exerting influence and control over the labeled. Most importantly, labels can hinder personal growth. A person labeled as lazy might start believing in this label, limiting their potential and inhibiting their progress. They might stop trying to change or grow, convinced that they are nothing more than their label. Labels, though seemingly simple and harmless, hold the power to shape perceptions and identities. Now, what if we told you that labeling could be seen as a form of manipulation, even demonic manipulation? Let's delve into this idea by discussing 5 reasons why labeling can be perceived as such. First up, labeling simplifies and distorts reality. When we label someone as lazy, stupid, or any other single descriptor, we're reducing their complex personality down to a single, often negative trait. This kind of reductionism devalues and demeans the person, stripping them of their multifaceted nature. Secondly, labeling is a form of control. Think about it. When you label someone, you're essentially pushing them into a certain frame of reference. You're setting limits on who they can be or how they're perceived, based on your own opinion. It's not unlike putting them in a box of your own making. Third, labeling is the imposition of one's vision onto another. By assigning a label, the manipulator is essentially dictating how another person should perceive and evaluate themselves. It's a one-sided narrative that doesn't take the other person's self-perception into account. Fourth, labeling is an attempt to substitute opinions for facts. A label at the end of the day is just an opinion. But when presented as an established fact, it becomes a form of deception and manipulation. It's like saying, "This is not just what I think of you, this is who you are." Finally, labeling blocks personal growth. When a person is labeled, they may begin to conform to this label, limiting their potential. They might stop striving for growth and change because they've been told, indirectly or otherwise, that they're incapable of being more than what the label defines them as. So, let's put this all together. The act of labeling, in its essence, is an attempt to exert influence, pressure, and control over another person. It distorts reality, imposes one's vision, substitutes opinions for facts, and hinders personal growth. These characteristics, when combined, make labeling a form of manipulation. And given its subtle yet insidious nature, it's not a stretch to call it demonic manipulation. In our next segment, we will delve into a real-life example, illustrating how labeling can manifest in our day-to-day interactions and the profound impact it can have on individuals. Thus, the act of labeling, while it may seem innocent, could just be a subtle tool for manipulation. Let's delve into a real-life example that illustrates the harmful effects of labeling. Picture this. A man is approached by an acquaintance who claims to have found an old picture of him on the internet. This isn't just any old picture, though. The acquaintance insists with an air of eerie certainty that it's an image of the man from a past life. Now let's pause here for a moment. This is a severe case of labeling. The acquaintance is not merely assigning a simple term to the man like lazy or smart. He is imposing an entire past life and identity onto him. This is a blatant distortion of reality, simplifying a complex individual to a single unverifiable past existence. But what happens next? The man, understandably shaken, begins to question his reality. This unexpected label has destabilized his psyche. He finds himself lost in a whirlpool of confusion and doubt. Was he really this person in a past life? How does this change who he is now? These questions begin to consume him, interfering with his personal space and sense of self. This is where we see the control aspect of labeling come into play. The man, who once had full reign over his identity, now finds himself boxed into a frame of reference imposed upon him by another. His acquaintances' claims, though baseless, have set limitations on who he can be. The label of a past life has effectively manipulated his perception of himself. But the impact doesn't stop there. The man starts to struggle with serious psychological problems. He grapples with his identity, unable to differentiate between his current life and the alleged past one. His sense of self becomes blurred, leading to a potential identity disorder. This is a clear demonstration of how labels can block personal growth. The man, once confident in his identity, now conforms to the label thrust upon him. His potential is capped, his growth stunted. He is no longer changing and evolving freely, but is instead shackled by the chains of a past life he may not have even lived. Lastly, let's consider how this label substitutes opinions for facts. The acquaintance's claim is merely an opinion, based on a picture found on the internet. Yet it was presented as an established fact, causing the man to question his reality. This is a classic case of deception and manipulation. As we can see, labels can have serious consequences, even leading to identity and personality disorders. They simplify and distort reality, exert control, impose visions, substitute opinions for facts, and block personal growth. In this case, the label of a past life was used to exert influence and control over the man, a form of demonic manipulation. So remember, each of us has the right to self-identify, free from the labels others may try to impose. It's important to recognize and resist such manipulative tactics, to protect our mental health and sense of self. After all, we are all complex individuals, full of depth and nuance, and no label can ever fully define us. Ultimately, everyone has the right to define their own identity and mission in life. This statement is the cornerstone of self-identification, a concept that holds immense power. Self-identification is the process through which we come to understand and express our own unique identities, free from the constraints of external labels. In an ideal world, we would all be free to explore and understand our own identities without interference. However, we often find ourselves subjected to labels imposed by others, which can distort our self-perception and hinder our personal growth. This is where the right to self-identification becomes critical. Self-identification is not just about knowing who we are. It's about asserting our identities and refusing to let anyone else define us. It's about rejecting the labels that others may try to impose on us, and instead, embracing the complexity and uniqueness of our own personalities. But why is this so important? Why should we resist the temptation to accept the labels that others might place on us? Firstly, labels are reductive. They seek to confine our complex personalities into simplistic terms, which can never truly capture the essence of who we are. When we allow others to label us, we risk losing sight of our own multifaceted identities. Secondly, labels can be manipulative. They can be used to assert control over us, pushing us into roles and expectations that we do not necessarily identify with. This manipulation can be subtle, but its effects are profound, as it can limit our potential and stifle our personal growth. Thirdly, labels can impose an external vision of who we are. This vision is often based on the biases and preconceptions of the person imposing the label, rather than reflecting our true selves. By accepting these labels, we risk adopting a distorted self-image, one that aligns with someone else's perception rather than our own self-understanding. The right to self-identification is therefore not just a matter of personal freedom, but also one of psychological well-being. It allows us to explore our own identities and potentials, free from the constraints of external labels. It empowers us to define our own mission in life, rather than having it dictated by others. In the journey of self-discovery, we must remember that we are not bound by the labels others assign to us. We are not obligated to fit into the boxes they create. We possess the right to explore our own soul, to understand our own identity, and to define our own mission in life. We must remember that our identities are not static but fluid and ever-evolving. We must not allow ourselves to be confined by labels, but rather, we should embrace the opportunity to grow, to change, and to redefine ourselves as we navigate through life. Remember, labels should not dictate who we are. We should be the ones defining ourselves. We are more than the labels assigned to us. We are complex, evolving, and unique individuals with the power to define our own identities. So let's embrace our right to self-identification. Let's reject the labels imposed on us, and let's embark on the exciting journey of self-discovery. Labels should not dictate who we are. We should be the ones defining ourselves. In today's discussion, we've unearthed the power and potential harm of labels. We've opened our minds to the idea that labels can be both simplifying and distorting, reducing multifaceted personalities to single, often negative characteristics. We've recognized how this reduction not only devalues and demeans a person, but also serves as a tool for control. By pushing individuals into predefined boxes, labels set boundaries on who they can be, imposing a manipulator's vision onto their self-perception. We've also delved into the deceptive nature of labeling. It's an attempt to present opinions as established facts, which is fundamentally manipulative. When we label others, we are not objectively stating a truth about them. Instead, we're expressing our subjective viewpoints, often with an intent to influence or control. This is a crucial distinction to keep in mind, as it underscores the manipulative potential of labels. Not only do labels distort reality and impose external perspectives, but they can also hinder personal growth. We've discussed how a person who has been labeled might start conforming to that label, limiting their potential. In doing so, they may halt their personal development, becoming stagnant in their growth and change. This, again, is a form of control exerted by the manipulator, and it's one of the most damaging effects of labeling. We've taken these concepts beyond theory, exploring a real-life example of how labels can be misused to manipulate others. The story of a man who tried to impose a past-life identity onto another person served to illustrate how labels can destabilize a person's psyche, intrude upon their personal space, and even provoke serious psychological problems. This example highlighted the importance of self-identification, a principle that respects each person's right to define their own identity and mission in life. It reminded us that imposing labels, particularly ones that carry heavy implications like past life identities, is a violation of personal sovereignty. It's an attempt to rob individuals of their agency, their right to explore and understand their own souls. So, as we close this discussion, let's remember the power of labels and the potential harm they can inflict. Let's be cautious about how we use them, conscious of the effects they can have on others and ourselves. And let's strive to foster environments that encourage self-identification, where each individual is free to define who they are without the constraints of externally imposed labels. Remember, labels are not facts. They should not dictate our identity or limit our growth. We all have the power to define who we are, free from the constraints of labels.